When I awoke in the pages of a tragic romance novel, the original host had just consumed sleeping pills. Her precious young daughter remained peacefully asleep in her embrace while the husband she adored but could never possess spent the entire night drinking with his former lover who had returned from overseas. I assumed control of this woman's body just as the oblivious male protagonist expected me to continue serving as his on-call caretaker. My domineering mother-in-law created constant scenes demanding I divorce her precious son. The male lead's ex-lover eagerly anticipated my surrender so she could take my place. Without hesitation, I embraced motherhood, cradling the innocent child while resolving to make every tormentor pay for their cruelty.
Welcome to listen to my full sweet love series novel. I'm the blogger and I'm Twilight's novel. Now let's start the main story.
As my eyelids fluttered open, an oppressive weight clouded my thoughts. Each breath required tremendous effort while waves of nausea threatened to overwhelm me. Against my chest, an angelic little girl slumbered undisturbed, her tiny fingers clutching my blouse with unconscious determination. On the nightstand, an overturned bottle of sleeping pills stood empty. I retrieved the mobile device beside my pillow and dialed emergency services. When awareness returned, the sharp scent of antiseptic assaulted my senses. Fortunately, she arrived in time, declared a voice bearing medical authority. The patient is no longer in critical condition, the physician continued gravely. As family members, you must monitor the psychological state of depressive individuals to prevent further self-harm attempts. A deeper masculine voice responded, "Understood, doctor. We appreciate your assistance." The door opened and closed with finality. I opened my eyes to confront a face twisted with concern. Andrew Hawthorne, the unattainable love of this body's original owner. "Where's Sophie?" My voice emerged weaker than intended. Andrew turned sharply at the sound, his expression transforming into fury upon seeing my consciousness. "You inquire about Sophie now?" he spat. "Did you consider her when swallowing those pills, Lila Martin? Are you truly so immature as to play suicidal games?" I regarded him with detached calm and gestured him closer. Assuming I wished to speak privately, Andrew reluctantly perched on the bedside chair. "What is it?" he demanded impatiently. "Come nearer," I insisted. With obvious reluctance, he leaned forward. Summoning all remaining strength, I delivered a stinging slap across his cheek. "Have you lost your mind?" Andrew roared, disbelief etching his features as a crimson handprint bloomed. I fixed him with an arctic glare. "What justification have you to reprimand me when you spent the night carousing with Serena Brooks? Did our daughter or I cross your thoughts even once? I called repeatedly last night, telling you I felt unwell. What precisely did you say to me?" The previous evening, Andrew had attended a reunion celebration for Serena Brooks, reconnecting with his former flame. Serena had used Andrew's device to send me an intimate photograph of their embrace. In the image, Andrew held a cocktail glass with alcohol-hazed smile while Serena clung to his waist like a possessive lover. Already suffering depression from Andrew's prolonged emotional neglect, the original Lila had completely shattered upon receiving this image. Through tearful sobs, she'd finally reached Andrew after numerous failed attempts. He'd listened with cold indifference before delivering his verdict. "Lila Martin, if you wish to die, then proceed. No one will interfere." Andrew's expression darkened as he pressed his lips together, attempting justification. "I believed you were employing emotional blackmail through suicide threats." "I never anticipated." "You never anticipated what?" I interrupted sharply. "That Serena would manipulate your device? Or perhaps you intended my humiliation through her but didn't expect genuine suicidal intentions?" Andrew despised the original Lila, this woman who worshipped him like deity while he treated her as worthless as dirt. Throughout their 3-year marriage, he'd conducted countless affairs, always returning home steeped in other women's perfumes. Were it not for their child, he might have brought these women directly to their marital bed. Andrew derived perverse satisfaction from this blatant infidelity, continually testing boundaries and forcing Lila's retreat. Her pain and distress meant nothing. She would always yield. Confronted with my accusations, Andrew found himself speechless. I regarded him with unveiled contempt. "Andrew Hawthorne, you should feel gratitude that I survived. Otherwise, you'd be kneeling in mourning at some funeral parlor." My words ignited his fury, eyes blazing with outrage. "Haven't you caused sufficient drama over one photograph? Must you create such theatrical displays? What more could you possibly demand? If you hadn't taken advantage during my drunken state years ago, I would never have. Years prior, the Hawthorne family fortunes had collapsed overnight. Andrew Hawthorne transformed from privileged heir to destitute debtor. His longtime fiancée Serena Brooks abandoned him for foreign shores. Left with only his deceased father, ailing mother, bankrupt company, and shattered ego, Andrew had hit rock bottom. Lila Martin had secretly loved him for years, standing by him at his lowest. She emptied her savings to help rebuild his business. The night they secured their first £1 million contract, celebratory drinking led to shared intimacy. When pregnancy resulted, Andrew married her solely for the child's sake. He blamed Lila entirely, deriving satisfaction from her guilt and suffering in their dysfunctional marriage. Are you claiming coercion? I countered. Did I force alcohol down your throat? Perhaps removed your trousers myself? Andrew's expression froze. Previously, any reference to their marriage's origins would make Lila retreat immediately. This strategy had never failed before. Never had his meek, silent wife confronted him so fiercely. Ignoring his shock, I pushed open the hospital window and shouted, "Andrew Hawthorne, CEO of Hawthorne Group, has been sexually assaulted." The lunchtime crowds below stirred at my declaration, startling birds from nearby trees. Andrew yanked me backward, equal parts shocked and enraged. "Have you completely lost reason?" I shook free of his grasp. "If you genuinely believe yourself violated, file legal charges. Don't hesitate, as victim, both law and public opinion will favor you." Andrew's complexion turned ashen. Muttering absurd, he stormed from the room. I welcomed the resulting peace, ordering myself lunch via mobile. Later, another meal arrived under Mr. Hawthorne's name. I redirected this belated gesture to the delivery boy. This tardy concern, like Andrew's delayed affection after Lila's hypothetical death, held no meaning for either of us. After my afternoon rest, another unwelcome visitor entered, Serena Brooks. She strutted in on stiletto heels, radiating superiority. "Tears, tantrums, and suicide threats won't reclaim a man's heart, Lila. My advice? Accept reality and consent to divorce. Prolonging this benefits no one." I lazily lifted my eyelids. "Miss Brooks, unless memory fails, I'm married to Andrew, not you. If anyone should terminate this marriage, let him approach me directly." Serena's glare intensified. "Stop playing naive, Lila. Andrew doesn't love you. With my return, divorce becomes inevitable." I met her gaze calmly. "Then why hasn't Andrew mentioned divorce? Could reluctance explain this?" Serena's composure shattered. "Stop deluding yourself. Had I not been abroad, I'd be Mrs. Hawthorne now." I casually selected an apple from the bedside table. "Miss Brooks, greed proves unwise. When the Hawthorne family collapsed, you fled without hesitation. Now that your wealthy foreign lover discarded you and your mistress mother got expelled, you come crawling back to Andrew's restored fortune. Additionally, in romantic fiction, characters like you who challenge legal wives are termed disposable supporting roles. Such characters rarely meet happy endings. In the original narrative, Andrew did blame Serena for Lila's death, launching vicious retaliations that left her destitute. You're spouting nonsense. I'll tear your lying mouth apart." Serena lunged, hand raised to strike. I hurled my half-eaten apple with precision. Thud. Direct forehead impact. The rebounding fruit then struck Andrew as he entered. Perfect timing. Andrew clutched his forehead while glaring. "Lila, what fresh madness is this?" Serena immediately clung to his arm, adopting a pitiful expression. "I only came to check on her condition." Never anticipated such hostility. "Andrew, please explain to your wife that yesterday's photograph was accidental." I interrupted with a derisive snort. What fascinating contact naming conventions. Does your entry in Andrew's phone also begin with V? Perhaps vermin? Serena shrieked. "Andrew!" Witness her behavior. I promptly activated my phone's live stream function. Greetings everyone. Exclusive coverage. Hawthorne Group CEO Andrew Hawthorne storms hospital room with mistress to pressure wife. Don't forget to follow this channel with those revenue-generating fingers. Andrew reached his limit. "Lila Martin, what absolute nonsense are you spewing?" Serena lunged for my device, forcibly terminating the broadcast. The final frame captured her contorted, enraged expression. Despite lasting under 7 seconds, this live stream dominated evening trending topics. Hashtags featuring Andrew Hawthorne and Serena Brooks flooded social platforms. Late that night, Andrew concluded a call and entered with exhausted expression. He dragged a chair beside my hospital bed. "All this chaos over one photograph? Haven't you made sufficient trouble?" My eyes remained closed until his words prompted me to open them. "This transcends a single image. It concerns 3 years of betrayals and concessions. 1,095 days and nights of suffering crystallized in that moment, crushing the original Lila's fragile psyche." Andrew's cruel words became the final breaking point. Lila died from heartbreak. Yet Andrew still asked if I'd caused enough disruption. When he misheard my response and frowned, I clarified. "Leave." His anger flared. "Must you always communicate through hostility? When I attempted civil conversation, you treated me as adversary and demanded distance. Now that I've lost patience, you suddenly desire proper dialogue?" I turned calmly to face him. "Andrew Hawthorne, what pathetic creature you've become." Andrew inhaled sharply. "Do you imagine yourself the sole victim in this marriage? Without our child, I'd never have wed a woman I didn't love." Thus he'd trampled Lila's genuine affection as punishment. But what precisely had Lila done wrong? "You proposed marriage," I reminded him. "Andrew, I never demanded responsibility." After their fateful night, both maintained adult discretion, pretending nothing occurred. Lila recognized Andrew's lack of love and never forced the issue, until discovering her pregnancy. An orphan craving familial bonds, she resolved to keep the child. When Andrew learned the news, she anxiously awaited contact. "Let's marry," he'd said. I studied this hypocritical, selfish man, struggling to comprehend Lila's devotion. "Your suffering originates from yourself, not me. Yet you punish me for your choices. You crave society's approval as responsible gentlemen while mourning lost love through affairs. You blame me for obstructing romance with Serena, though she departed voluntarily. You had infinite opportunities to reconcile with her. You fault neither yourself nor her. Only me. You're not merely foolish. You disgust me. But nothing matters now." Andrew's face flushed crimson, but before he could respond, I continued. "So long as you refrain from flaunting affairs before Sophie and myself, conduct whatever relationships you please." Lila had loved Andrew, and love inherently grants the beloved power to wound the lover. But I am not the original Lila Martin. Andrew possesses no such power over me. Andrew always favored long, straight hair, which Lila maintained for years. My first post-discharge action involved visiting a salon for dramatic mermaid waves. During hospitalization, Sophie had stayed with Andrew's mother. Now recovered, I naturally went to retrieve her. Mrs. Hawthorne frowned upon seeing my transformed appearance. What vulgar exhibitionism! She'd always disdained Lila's humble origins. Years earlier, when Hawthorne Group collapsed, Andrew's father committed suicide while his mother fell gravely ill. Andrew drowned sorrows in alcohol while Lila arranged the funeral and nursed his mother. Despite maintaining aristocratic airs in poverty, Mrs. Hawthorne demanded constant service. Lila became her round-the-clock attendant until recovery, losing significant weight from exhaustion. Yet she never earned a kind word. Another patient once inquired, "That diligent young woman visiting daily, your son's girlfriend?" Mrs. Hawthorne responded indifferently, "Merely hired help." After marriage, Mrs. Hawthorne criticized endlessly, convinced Lila unworthy. Lila's depression partly stemmed from this constant torment. Yet for Andrew's sake, she endured humbly. I felt no such obligation. I'm youthful and attractive. People enjoy seeing me well presented. Should I wait until reaching your aged, withered state before making effort? Mrs. Hawthorne hadn't anticipated such boldness. Her heavily powdered face contorted. Parentless children lack manners. How dare you disrespect elders? Mrs. Hawthorne had been a celebrated beauty, though time eroded her looks. The slightest grimace caused foundation to settle unflatteringly. I smiled carelessly. Charity given to beggars yields more gratitude. Years of devotion earned only hostility. Clearly, manners, like character, require proper company. Mrs. Hawthorne's chest heaved with outrage. How could my son marry such creature? Count yourself fortunate. I observed her discomposure with satisfaction. Actually, I'm your family's savior. Without my assistance during crisis, you wouldn't stand here posturing. Perhaps you'd be the parentless one. Ignoring her pallor, I proceeded upstairs where Sophie napped. I carefully gathered the sleeping child. Mrs. Hawthorne blocked our exit. You cannot remove Sophie. My expression hardened. As Sophie's mother, you lack authority to prevent this. She sneered. What upbringing can you provide? We won't permit you to ruin another Hawthorne child. Sophie stirred against my shoulder. I soothed her while addressing Mrs. Hawthorne. If civilized language proves incomprehensible, I'm equally fluent in cruder methods. Mrs. Hawthorne appeared shocked. You wouldn't dare strike me. I raised an eyebrow. Shall we test this theory? As she cowered, trembling hands retrieved her phone. I'll instruct Andrew to divorce you immediately. I departed with Sophie. The awakened child beamed upon seeing me, clinging like a delighted shadow. Mommy, you're beautiful like the mermaid princess. I kissed her cheeks before preparing dinner. Sophie brought her small stool to the kitchen doorway, watching intently. Why stare so intently, sweetheart? I'm afraid if I blink, Mommy disappears again, she confessed. Having never been separated from me previously, Sophie had grown anxious. In the original tale, witnessing Lila's death caused severe illness. I embraced her tightly, heart aching. Mommy promises to stay with Sophie every day now. Only then did her worry transform into joy. Post-dinner, Sophie played while I cleaned dishes. Andrew returned, noted Sophie's absorption, then entered the kitchen. He froze upon seeing my vibrant red curls. Lila. I didn't bother turning. Speak if you have something to say. After momentary silence, his annoyed voice came. I heard you nearly struck Mother. Have you no respect for elders? I focused on scrubbing grease. Advanced age alone doesn't command respect. Wisdom and virtue determine worthiness. Andrew knew his mother's treatment of me, yet never intervened. Mother is your elder. Can't you endure her difficulties? Andrew grabbed my arm, attempting to drag me toward the door. You'll take Sophie to apologize immediately. I freed myself and flung soapy gloves at his face. Foam splattered across his features. I barely tolerate you, let alone your mother. Exiting quickly, I collected Sophie for bath time. Post-bath, we reached story time. Sophie selected The Little Mermaid from her collection. Mommy, read about the mermaid princess. I began narrating softly until reaching the climax. Her sisters surfaced, bargaining with the sea witch. Exchanging their long hair for a dagger, they offered salvation. If the mermaid stabbed the prince's heart, she'd regain her tail and return home. The little mermaid grasped the blade and without hesitation plunged it deep. She returned to ocean depths, living joyfully ever after. Drowsy Sophie suddenly stirred. Mommy, that's wrong. The mermaid became sea foam. I stroked her soft hair. Should Sophie prefer the mermaid dissolve into foam? She shook her head vehemently. Though Sophie adored this tale, the tragic ending always made her weep. I explained gently. When relationships cause only pain, cease self-sacrifice. Only by loving yourself can you avoid obsession with others' affection. Meeting Sophie's innocent gaze, I continued. If story endings displease you, rewrite them yourself. Though too young for full comprehension, I hope to plant this crucial seed. After tucking Sophie in, I encountered Andrew waiting outside. Tomorrow, revert your hair color, he commanded. You know my preferences. I prefer this style. Sophie finds it beautiful. What relevance have your preferences to me? Andrew's expression darkened. Must you oppose everyone today? Mother worried about your recovery, wanting to care for Sophie longer. Yet you nearly struck her. I laughed bitterly. When Mother Hawthorne demanded winter watermelon during hospitalization, where was this concern as she berated me for failing to find any? When pregnant with Sophie and Andrew drank until hospitalized, Where was her concern as she slapped me for neglecting him? When I requested epidural during labor and she prevented consent, where was concern as she listened to my agony? Now you claim she worries? Andrew Hawthorne, you may choose blindness, but I see clearly. Andrew reached to stop me. Where are you going? The guest room. Sharing your bed sickens me. Suddenly, Andrew clutched his stomach, expression softening. Lila. Stomach pain. This tactic always worked on Lila, who would then pamper him. This time brought only disappointment. Why not die from the pain then? He stared, shocked, as cold sweat dotted his forehead. The pain was genuine. Not his stomach but liver damage from years of alcoholism. Searching my expression for concern, he found only icy detachment. Andrew finally realized, I truly didn't care. His phone rang. Serena calling. He declined, but she persisted. Andrew glanced at me hesitantly. I laughed coldly and left. Next morning, dark circles shadowed Andrew's eyes as Sophie and I finished breakfast. He noticed the extra place setting, eyes flickering with hope. Sipping milk, he commented. Though I typically prefer black coffee, milk suffices. I wiped Sophie's mouth. Direct dietary preferences to Elsie. Andrew frowned. Elsie. Our new housekeeper emerged, confirming she'd finished cleaning. I nodded dismissal. I dislike strangers in my home, Andrew declared. He valued privacy intensely. Previously, Lila handled all domestic tasks. Money should improve life quality, I countered. Choose between moving out or assuming all household duties. Ignoring his displeasure, I took Sophie to nursery. Children don't comprehend adult complexities. Mommy, why is Daddy unhappy? Sophie inquired during the drive. I turned the steering wheel casually. Perhaps he dislikes milk. Andrew eventually accepted the housekeeper's presence. That evening, his call came during our restaurant dinner. Where are you? Why aren't you home? I could envision his irritated expression. I've no obligation to await you endlessly nor report my whereabouts. Silence followed before Andrew spoke again. I'm hungry. Elsie prepared dinner, but it's cold now. Can't you reheat it yourself? Andrew paused stiffly. I want your cooking. Take it or leave it. I disconnected. Countless nights, Lila had reheated meals repeatedly, usually waiting in vain. I wondered if Andrew now grasped even fractionally how she'd felt. Returning home, we found Andrew gone, food untouched. After Sophie's bedtime, noises downstairs announced Andrew's drunken return with Serena. She helped him to the sofa, then accidentally fell into his arms. Andrew complained of thirst. Serena brought water, which he rejected. Not water. I want hangover soup. Serena spilled the glass, soaking them both. Let me help you change, she suggested, reaching for his buttons. Andrew suddenly grabbed her wrist. Lila, he murmured. Serena's eyes widened. What did you call me? Lila, Andrew repeated, making me nauseated. Enraged, Serena shook him. I'm Serena. Look at me. Andrew pushed her away, stumbling upright. I must find Lila. Serena grabbed him. You can't go. When will you divorce her? To her shock, Andrew erupted. No divorce. Never divorcing her. Serena fled in tears while Andrew wandered blindly, calling my name until collapsing. Lying on the floor, he whimpered about headaches and stomach pain like a petulant child. No response came, no loving caretaker to soothe him. I slept soundly, learning next morning of Andrew's illness. He'd spent the night on cold flooring, developing high fever yet refusing medical attention. Elsie attempted to feed him but got dismissed. Entering with a tray, I found him facing away. I said no food. Daddy, Mommy gets angry when you're disobedient, Sophie announced sternly. Andrew turned, instinctively tensing upon seeing me. I set the tray down. Sophie delivered medicine, which Andrew took reluctantly before scowling at the gruel. Only this. Take it or leave it. Andrew glared before realizing I wouldn't yield. He sipped the gruel resentfully as I turned to leave. Where are you going? Taking Sophie to nursery. Behave yourself. Upon returning, I found Andrew still home, his assistant delivering documents. She seemed surprised to see me. Ms. Martin. Lila had helped build Andrew's company from nothing, retaining shares. Only this assistant addressed her properly. Hearing her, Andrew peered out. Lila, I'm thirsty. His commanding tone implied I existed to serve. Ignoring him, I changed clothes. Andrew waited outside. Where now? He grabbed my hand. Still feverish, his grip proved weak. I easily freed myself, twirling car keys. Out. Andrew glared. I'm ill. You won't stay. I laughed. Broken limbs wouldn't concern me, let alone minor illness. Die first, then I might arrange your funeral. Departing, I encountered Andrew's assistant Nancy leaving with documents. She'd witnessed Lila's devotion amidst mockery, offering rare kindness. Ms. Martin, you've changed dramatically, she observed, smiling at my vibrant curls. Nothing remains unchanged forever, I replied, driving off. Enjoying financial independence, I booked full spa treatments. Emerging, I encountered Mrs. Hawthorne and a familiar face, one of Andrew's former mistresses. The woman eyed me with poorly concealed envy. Dressing extravagantly won't make Andrew love you, she sneered. I smiled. If it isn't my husband's fifth mistress. The spa buzzed with sudden attention. The woman flushed crimson. What nonsense! Can't even achieve proper mistress status, I continued pityingly. Worse at affairs than others. How tragic. Amidst laughter, I departed for a nearby cafe. University students entered, one blushing as friends pushed him forward. May I buy you coffee? The youth asked. Youthful charm proved delightful. Why not invite your friends? My treat. Returning home, Elsie had dinner prepared. Andrew sat at the table, expression thunderous. Elsie's fish and chips delighted Sophie, though she struggled with bones. As I carefully deboned her portion, Andrew suddenly choked. He coughed violently, face reddening. Sophie inherited his fish preference and inability to eat it properly. Traditionally, Lila had always assisted him. I glanced briefly before resuming my task. Andrew slammed his fork down and stormed upstairs. Post-bedtime, he awaited me outside Sophie's room. We need to talk. I walked past toward the guest room. You have much to discuss with that boy, don't you? He thrust his phone forward, displaying my cafe encounter. Gallivanting about. Are you involved with him? I laughed coldly. One innocent photo and your mind descends to depravity. Andrew, do you assume everyone shares your filthiness? That a glance implies bedding strangers? My words stung. Red-eyed, he pinned me against the wall. You call me filthy? What about you? I stared him down, prying his fingers loose. Countless women have touched you. Men without self-respect resemble rotting vegetables. You disgust me. Fine. Andrew laughed bitterly. Suddenly, he twisted my arms behind me, forcing a brutal kiss. When evasion proved impossible, I bit down hard. Blood filled my mouth as Andrew recoiled. Freeing myself, I slapped him with full force. His head snapped sideways, fists clenching. You hate me, don't you? He asked softly. That question belonged to Lila. I simply await your death. Andrew found no response, words dying as I pushed past, vigorously wiping my mouth. Thereafter, Andrew's manner turned icy. Though cohabiting, we became strangers. Time passed until one nursery pickup revealed Sophie already collected by Mrs. Hawthorne. Remembering previous interference, I drove immediately to her residence. Mrs. Hawthorne sat drinking tea. Acting like I kidnapped her? She sneered upon my arrival. I'm Sophie's grandmother. Must I seek permission for visitation? I sat opposite. No one prevents visits, but you should inform her mother before removal. Mrs. Hawthorne snorted. Who are you to dictate terms? I'm Sophie's legal guardian, I clarified. Without my consent, you've no visitation rights. Mrs. Hawthorne's hands trembled with rage. Don't think I don't see your scheme. You trapped Andrew with pregnancy to avoid divorce. Let me clarify. Sophie lacks no maternal figures. Suddenly realizing Sophie's absence, my expression hardened. Where is Sophie? Mrs. Hawthorne looked smug. I sent her out with Serena. I saw red. You gave my daughter to your son's mistress? Mrs. Hawthorne slammed the table. What mistress? Andrew will divorce you soon. Serena will become Sophie's new mother. I laughed bitterly. My relationship with Andrew is none of your concern. Though with Andrew's father deceased young, perhaps he's already found you replacement husbands in the afterlife. Turning to leave, I heard the sound of shattering china and curses behind me. I immediately called Andrew, but before I could speak, the hospital phoned. Sophie had nearly drowned. When I arrived, Serena stood outside the ward, weeping dramatically to Andrew. It's all my fault. I told her the lake was dangerous, but she wouldn't listen. I looked away for just a moment, and her words cut off as she saw me storming toward them. Frightened, she hid behind Andrew, who stepped forward to block me. Lila, calm down. I slapped him hard across the face. Before he could react, I grabbed Serena by the hair and yanked her forward, delivering another stinging blow. Shirking responsibility, are you? Taking advantage of Sophie's inability to speak while she lies in a hospital bed? Serena, stinging from the slap but unable to retaliate in front of Andrew, clung to his sleeve. Andrew, I swear, I never thought she'd fall in. I slapped Andrew again. That's your daughter in there. Your mistress was the only one present when it happened. Accident or not, how is she blameless? I warned you not to let her interfere with Sophie and me. Yet she conspired with your wretched mother to take my child behind my back. Andrew, you can't control your mother. You can't control your mistress. You're utterly useless. Disgusted, I turned and entered the ward. Sophie lay pale and unconscious. The doctor assured me she wasn't in critical condition, just shocked. After a long vigil, Sophie finally stirred, throwing her arms around me and sobbing. Mommy, I don't want a new mommy. The sea witch is bad. She scared me. Through careful questioning, I learned the truth. Serena had spoken ill of me, hinting she'd replace me as Sophie's mother. When Sophie angrily called her the sea witch, Serena shoved her into the lake. I immediately called the police. Serena, still in the hospital corridor, paled as officers approached. Lila, please. Save your excuses for the police. Though there were no eyewitnesses, security footage clearly showed Serena pushing Sophie. I instructed my lawyer to press attempted murder charges. Serena was detained, begging to see Andrew one last time. He refused. Instead, he came to me, guilt-ridden. I'm sorry, Lila. I never imagined she'd do this. You owe Sophie the apology, I said coldly. She suffered because of you, her father. Andrew pressed his lips together, unable to deny it. I handled this poorly. Do what you must with Serena's case. I won't interfere. Your mother was involved too, I reminded him. I don't want her near Sophie again. Can you ensure that? After a long pause, he nodded. Fine. I promise. I don't know what Andrew said to his mother, but she stopped harassing us. Andrew, however, transformed into the doting father, cutting ties with other women, canceling social events, becoming the repentant family man. He took Sophie to and from nursery, played games with her, read bedtime stories. Sophie, unused to his attention, was almost shocked. A father's presence is crucial for a child's development. Since my issues with Andrew shouldn't affect Sophie, I allowed their bonding. Besides, Andrew didn't have much time left. But he misinterpreted my tolerance as reconciliation. He began buying me flowers, not realizing the original Lila was allergic. They ended up in the trash, thrown away by Andrew himself. Watching me sneeze uncontrollably, his hopeful expression faded. I'm sorry. Whether he meant the flowers or years of neglect, I didn't care. Stop these meaningless gestures. His face fell. I just wanted to make amends. There's no need. I won't stop you from being a father to Sophie, but spare me this pointless self-pity. It's pathetic. My words were harsh. Andrew's face cycled through shades of red and white. A bouquet couldn't erase years of pain. I turned to leave, but he grabbed my arm, suddenly furious. You've removed your wedding ring. I laughed. I don't like it. Is that a problem? Andrew froze. These were his exact words when Lila had questioned him about his own missing ring. Their marriage had only been a registry office affair. Lila had bought the rings herself. Andrew never wore his. But to Lila, that ring symbolized her identity as Mrs. Hawthorne. I met Andrew's stunned gaze with satisfaction. I'm simply treating you as you treated me. Is it unbearable? His fingers tightened around my wrist, eyes pleading. I regret it, Lila. Can we start over? Sure. I pulled free, smiling coldly. You die first. Then I'll consider starting over. How about it? Willing to die. People only value what they've lost. The real Lila Martin had already died. It was only fair Andrew Hawthorne died once too. Andrew tried everything to win me back, but my heart remained stone. When he realized nothing could rekindle my feelings, he broke down. Time hadn't matured him. He still drowned his sorrows in alcohol. One night, drunk, he pounded on my door, demanding to know why I wouldn't love him again. Fearing he'd wake Sophie, I opened it. Look at yourself, Andrew Hawthorne. What about you is worth loving? He knelt, stubble rough, shirt stained and crumpled. A far cry from his once pristine appearance. But as he looked up, something sparked in his eyes. He grabbed my ankle like a drowning man. Lila, forgive me. I'll never hurt you again. Didn't you always regret we never had a proper wedding? I've contacted your favorite designer. Let's have a ceremony. Bali, beaches, bonfires, just like you wanted. So he knew. He knew all of Lila's regrets. I kicked him away. Your promises are as worthless as you are. His eyes widened. You loved me once. How can you stop? I sneered. Then you should know it's in the past. Now I only regret ever loving you. I don't believe it. He laughed hysterically. No matter how I hurt you before, you always forgave me. How can you not want me anymore? Suddenly, realization struck him. Is there someone else? Disgusted, I pressed my foot to his chest. Not everyone is as rotten as you. I don't love you. I don't want you. Can't you understand? But Andrew seemed relieved, muttering to himself. As long as you haven't fallen for someone else, I still have a chance. Done with words, I turned to close the door. But he yanked me down, his alcohol-laced kisses burning my neck. Nauseated, I grasped an empty bottle and smashed it over his head. Blood splattered as I kicked him away. You scum. After venting my rage, I called an ambulance. By the time Andrew was discharged, Sophie and I had moved out. Frantic, he got into a car accident and was readmitted, this time with 3 broken ribs and late-stage liver cancer. Doctors gave him 6 months. Mrs. Hawthorne called, alternating between cursing me as a jinx and begging me to visit. But Sophie and I were vacationing in Bali, enjoying sunlit beaches. Only after returning did I visit the hospital. Chemotherapy had left Andrew bald, pale, and frail beneath a woolen hat. My vibrant red curls seemed to mock his deterioration. He brightened upon seeing me, eyes watering. Now that you're back, will you stay? I smiled faintly. Do you still imagine I'll forgive you because you're dying? Play the devoted wife until the end? He fell silent, hope flickering. That won't happen. Leaning closer, I enunciated clearly. Andrew Hawthorne, I'm waiting for you to die so I can inherit everything. The light in his eyes shattered. After his death, Mrs. Hawthorne contested the will, threatening lawsuits. I reminded her, the company was co-founded before marriage. The cars, house, savings, all marital assets. And I've sold the house you're living in. Move out within a week. She gaped. On what grounds? I smiled. On the grounds that I'm the legal owner. With Andrew's shares combined with mine, I became majority stakeholder of Hawthorne Group, soon rebranded Martin Group. Before leaving the country for further studies, Andrew's lawyer handed me a final letter. I dropped it, unread, into the trash. The past belongs in the past. Sophie and I are moving forward, toward a new life.